Before we move on, also to bring you an update on the financial situation in Cyprus that we have talked about so much over the last few weeks. I apologise, clearly not meant to be doing that, but let me just tell you what we're hearing from Nicosia, the AP news agency, in the last few minutes, saying that Cyprus's central bank says all domestic debit and credit card transactions are now unrestricted.
Was unnecessary, and he thought maybe the procession would be divisive. What are your views?
Well, what happens outside the cathedral is something which is the choice of the government, and it's nothing to do with us directly. What happens inside is going to be a fairly straightforward funeral service, much like you would get in other parts of the country. It's not a memorial, it's not a celebration or Thanksgiving directly. There's no eulogy or tribute to Mrs. Thatcher. But the service includes elements of thanksgiving, but also a prayer that God's mercy and grace will cover the mistakes that all of us make, and Mrs. Thatcher's no exception.
Because, of course, Mrs. Thatcher had a difficult relationship with the church during her period in office, didn't she?
Although I have a laptop, as I said, I call on my grandson to help me to use it. So I'm not keen on replying to things by email. In fact, I've tried to get rid of...
It could be worse, Sophie.
It could be worse, Peter. Thank you very much. And that's it from us on BBC One. We now join the BBC's news teams where you are. Bye-bye.
Just trying to build the suspense a little. Hello, this is BBC News. I'm Martin Croxall. Got a bit of a problem here. We're going to be taking a look at the papers with our guests in a minute, with broadcaster Alice Arnold and media writer at The Telegraph, Neil Midgley. Can only get better, can't it?
Now, I do just want to show you what is happening on the markets as a reaction to all of that. And I would love to show them to you there, but I can't. Hopefully they are coming, you can see somewhere. They were there. The markets as indecisive, I think, as they are.
In which they will say that they have spoken to all of the players involved in the England game against Poland on Tuesday and asked them to tell them.
At 10 o'clock, the news now on BBC One with Hugh Edwards.
Tonight at 10.
Shares in Microsoft went up by 9% on the news, reflecting widespread criticism of Mr. Ballmer's leadership, as our technology correspondent Rory Ketlin-Jones reports. OK, well, we were hoping to bring in that report. I do apologise.
BBC World News. I'm Naga Monchetti. Here are the headlines. Turkish police are on the streets of Ankara overnight trying to disperse protesters. Earlier, the governing AK party says it's prepared to hold a referendum in Istanbul over plans to redevelop Gezi Park, the issue that sparked nationwide anti-government demonstrations. A 24-hour general strike has begun in Greece, a protest at the government's surprise move to shut down the state broadcaster ERT. Nearly 3,000 people will lose their jobs. The government said it was a cost-cutting move. Edward Snowden, a former CIA employee, has claimed that the US government had been hacking into computers in Hong Kong.
More on both those stories and much more else besides in about 50 minutes' time when I'm back with World Business Report. Actually, before that, though, we're going to have a quick look at the market. Sorry to catch up with you there. And here we go. This is the picture.
And the time's 18 minutes past 6. Coming up on tonight's programme, Marathon Mum, a first outing for Kate since the birth of Prince George, as she officially starts a round the island race on Anglesey. It was the maternity unit at the centre of an NHS scandal. There were claims of fatally...
and security forces are said to be going door to door, arresting supporters of the Brotherhood. The BBC's Nick Childs has this report.
The images from a pro-military Egyptian TV station as security forces in armoured vehicles moved in on Kedassa.
Well, it seems as though we had a little bit of a problem there, but we're trying to get our ducks in a row and we will sort it out. I want to go now to my colleague Khalid Ezal Arab, who is in Cairo to give us the very latest. Hello, Khalid. All right, apologies, everyone. It seems as though we are still having a bit of difficulty with that. So let's move on to our second top story.
Now, in other news, there is some more good news for the UK economy. In its quarterly economic forecast, the British Chambers of Commerce has revised up its growth predictions, and it says that the economy will grow above its 2008 pre-recession peak. It's in the second half of the year. We'll hopefully get to our guest in a moment. But there is one warning, and that warning is that growth will slow slightly in 2015. That's thanks to a reduction in household spending as a result of high personal debt levels. Well, as you can see, it looks like John is ready. John Longworth is the Director General of the British Chambers of Commerce.
Hello and welcome to our look ahead to what the papers will be bringing us tomorrow. Goodness me, what is happening there?
In a recent interview with a U.S. broadcaster, Rouhani said the U.S. president's correspondence was a positive and constructive step. The BBC's James Reynolds has the story.
Iran's new president has one immediate goal: reconciliation with the United States. For that reason, Hassan Rouhani chose to speak directly to a US audience. He addressed America's main concern, Iran.
Okay, no luck on this one, but we'll be moving on and trying to sort out those technical problems that seem to be plaguing us on GMT.
We shall be joined by viewers on BBC One when Clive Myrie will have a full roundup of today's news.
You are the worst person I've ever interviewed.
No, it's basically off with their heads, disappear.
David, thank you for being with us.
Infowars.com.
It's gone 11:30. You're watching the Sunday Politics. We have an idiot on the program today. Coming up in just 20 minutes.
You will not stop the Republic. Humanity is awakening. Infowars.com. No, you guys are crazy.
I'll be looking at the week ahead with our political panel.
Time for a look at the weather forecast now with Susan Powell. Susan. Hello, good evening. This is BBC News with me, Julie Morica. Apologies if you were expecting Susan Powell to appear during the weather forecast. If it's any consolation, so was I. But we'll try and find her in time for half an hour from now.
Difficult to mobilise international community for action. He also said that chemical weapons can fall into the wrong hands and threaten US security and those of our allies.
But they were made to endure a nail-biting finish as the Wallabies missed a match-winning kick in the final minute.
After all the expectation, the wait finally over. The Lions walked into Test battle for the first time in 4 years, and what a match. Will Genia, with the first moment of genius, his quick thinking and quick running opened the tourists up with ease before his perfect kick allowed Israel.
This is BBC World News, the latest headlines. I'm Geeta Gurumurthy. Tests, sorry about that. We're having a few technology problems in our news studios. Do bear with us.
He's a columnist for the Evening Standard newspaper, and this afternoon he has spoken to the newspaper and given his account of this episode. And he said that he admits that the couple had a row.
Hello,
welcome to BBC World News. I'm Martine Dennis.
And I'm Sally Bundock. Here are the headlines.
Good morning and welcome to BBC News. Plans for privately run drunk tanks to tackle alcohol-fueled disorder have been backed by police chiefs. Under the proposals, drunk troublemakers will be taken to cells run by private firms and have to pay for it once they've sobered up.
Well, let's just decipher all of that for you now with our technology correspondent, Dave Lee. Dave, hello to you. Just first of all, simply, what is Snapchat?
So Snapchat is an app that's become...
Well, let's get some more on this. That was Mike Waldridge, of course, taking a look at some of these very major developments that have taken place in South Africa. The BBC's Pumza Filani can join us now from Johannesburg. So, Pumza... actually, sorry, we don't have Pumza Filani. We do have Pumza Filani. Sorry, we can go to Pumza Filani, but I'm staying on this camera.
He was leaving the gates of Downing Street with his bicycle and he wasn't able to go through the main gate, and according to the officers at the time, he swore at them and he used this term, pleb. There was a huge outcry after this, huge criticism of the Chief Whip to the extent that he was effectively forced to quit from his... There was a civilian statement allegedly taken at the time and there was some questioning over that. There was also some questioning over tourists which were allegedly there at the time, whether they were there or not. So this has been muddied water. Now, there's been criticism of the inquiry already. It's been going on for 8 months so far. Last week, MPs were talking about how much it had cost, which is £144,000. And today, we get this statement from the Metropolitan Police taking us on a step, as you say.
Larry Magid, who's joining us by Skype. I think we've got a proper connection with him. We were having problems with it earlier. But Larry, we've had these results, a 31% rise of profits for Google, and also a rise in profits... I think we've got a bit of a problem with the line there, Larry. But can you give us a few comments on what you've heard from Microsoft? The figures seem a bit better.
Yeah, it actually is surprising because Microsoft has a big challenge right now because of the slump in PC sales.
That his preparation for the event has not gone according to plan. He's struggled early season, missed a couple of cuts. In fact, it was only a couple of weeks ago he made his first cut of the year. He'd have been hoping.
Now let's get some more on our main news this morning. A government-imposed cap.
Really difficult category.
Lots of Brits in that category, and also lots of Brits in Best Actress as well. You mentioned Sandra Bullock as well.
Chris Leslie speaking to you a little earlier. Now, coming up in a moment, we're joined by viewers... Done it again. We're joined by viewers on BBC One.